Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Central Park jogger case. The Central Park jogger case was a major news story that involved the assault, rape, and sodomy of Trisha Meili, a female jogger, and attacks on others in Manhattan's Central Park on the night of April 19, 1989. The attack on the jogger left her in a coma for 12 days. Meili was a 28-year-old investment banker at the time. According to the New York Times, the attacks were one of the most widely publicized crimes of the 1980s. The crime spawned a use of the term wilding, which is the unprovoked gang assault on a stranger. 5 juvenile males, 4 black, and 1 of Hispanic descent, were tried variously for assault, robbery, riot, rape, sexual abuse, and attempted murder. They were convicted of most charges by juries in 2 separate trials in 1990, and received sentences ranging from 5 to 15 years. 4 of the convictions were appealed. They were affirmed by appellate courts. The defendants spent between 6 and 13 years in prison. In 2002, Matias Reyes, another Hispanic male who had been a juvenile at the time of the attack, confessed to raping the jogger, and DNA evidence confirmed his involvement in Meili's rape. He also said he committed the rape alone. At the time of his confession, Reyes was a convicted serial rapist and murderer who was serving a life sentence. He was not prosecuted for raping Meili, because the statute of limitations had passed by the time Reyes confessed. District Attorney Robert Morgenthau suggested to the court that the 5 men's convictions related to the assault and rape of Meili and 2 attacks on others to which they had confessed be vacated, and withdrew the charges. Their convictions were vacated in 2002. The 5 convicted men sued New York City in 2003 for malicious prosecution, racial discrimination, and emotional distress. The city refused to settle the suits for a decade under then-Mayor Michael Bloomberg, because the city's lawyers felt they would win. However, after Bill de Blasio became mayor and supported the settlement, the city settled the case for $41 million in 2014. As of December 2014, the 5 men were pursuing an additional $52 million in damages from New York State in the New York Court of Claims. The victim, Trisha Meili, was born on June 24, 1960 in Paramus, New Jersey, and raised in affluent Upper St. Clair, Pennsylvania, a suburb of Pittsburgh. She is the daughter and youngest of 3 children of John Meili, a Westinghouse senior manager, and his wife, Jean, a school board member. She attended Upper St. Clair High School, graduating in 1978. Meili was a Phi Beta Kappa economics major at Wellesley College, where she received a BA in 1982. The chairman of Wellesley's economics department said, "She was brilliant, probably one of the top 4 or 5 students of the decade." In 1986, she earned an MA from Yale and an MBA in finance from the Yale School of Management. She worked from the summer of 1986 on through the time of the attack as an associate, and then a vice president in the corporate finance department and energy group of Salomon Brothers. Meili lived on East 83rd Street between York Avenue and East End Avenue on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. At the time of the attack, she was 28 years old and weighed less than 100 pounds. In most media accounts of the incident at that time, Meili was simply referred to as a Central Park jogger. However, 2 local TV stations violated media policy of not publicly identifying the victims of sex crimes, and released her name in the days immediately following the attack. 2 newspapers aimed at the African American community, the City Sun and the Amsterdam News, and the black-owned talk radio station WLIB continued to do so as the case progressed. The open-line hosts on WRKS were credited with helping continue to cover the case until the convicted youths were cleared of the crime. In April 2003, Meili confirmed her identity to the media and published a memoir entitled I Am the Central Park Jogger. She then began a career as an inspirational speaker. She also works with victims of sexual assault and brain injury in the Mount Sinai Sexual Assault and Violence Intervention Program. She continues to manifest some physiological after-effects of the assault, including memory loss. The assault. Between 9 and 10 p.m. on the night of April 19, 1989, approximately 30 teenage perpetrators committed several attacks, or assaults, and robberies in the northernmost part of Manhattan's Central Park. According to the New York Times, the attacks on Meili and on others in the park that night were one of the most widely publicized crimes of the 1980s. Trisha Meili went for a run on her usual path in Central Park shortly before 9 p.m. While jogging in the park, she was knocked down, dragged to chase nearly, and violently assaulted. She was stabbed 5 times, raped, sodomized, and almost beaten to death. About 4 hours later, at 1:30 a.m., she was found naked, gagged, tied up, and covered in mud and blood. Meili was discovered in a shallow ravine in a wooded area of the park about north of the 102nd Street transverse. The first policeman who saw her said, "She was beaten as badly as anybody I've ever seen beaten. She looked like she was tortured. She was comatose for 12 days. She suffered severe hypothermia, severe brain damage, Class 4 hemorrhagic shock, and loss of 75–80% of her blood from 5 deep stab wounds, and a gash on one of her thighs, and internal bleeding. Her skull had been fractured so badly that her left eye was dislodged from its socket, which in turn was fractured in 21 places, and she suffered as well from facial fractures." The initial medical prognosis was that Meili would succumb to her injuries and die. She was given last rites. The police initially listed the attack as a probable homicide. At best, doctors thought that she would remain in a permanent coma due to her injuries. She came out of her coma 12 days after her attack, and spent 7 weeks in Metropolitan Hospital in East Harlem. When she initially emerged from her coma, she was unable to talk, read, or walk. In early June, she was transferred to Gaylord Hospital, a long-term acute care center in Wallingford, Connecticut, where she spent 6 months in rehabilitation. She was first able to walk again in mid-July. She returned to work 8 months after the attack. Remarkably, she largely recovered, with some lingering disabilities related to balance and loss of vision. As a result of the severe trauma, she had no memory of the attack or of any events up to an hour before the assault, nor of the 6 weeks following the attack. The crime was unique in the level of public outrage it provoked. New York Governor Mario Cuomo told the New York Post, "This is the ultimate shriek of alarm." Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.